Hello belly dance princesses and princes. I'm Magnolia and today we're going to be doing How to Belly Dance for Beginners lesson number 3. And in today's lesson we're going to be learning 3 essential belly dance movements, including snake arms, hip drops, and forward chest slides. Now if you haven't seen belly dance lesson number 2, please go ahead and watch that first in the link up above here or down in the description box below. Normally in these lesson videos, we do have another beginner with us so that they are learning belly dance alongside you. But unfortunately, Katie is still healing from her foot injury, so she is unable to join us today, but don't worry, she will be back with us for the next belly dance lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with belly dance snake arms. The snake arms in belly dance are the most common movement that we see in the arm frame, especially for beginning belly dance. So this can be broken down into 4 essential movements of your arm. So if I was to show it in a broken down section, you would see it goes shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. So those are the 4 components that make up this movement. It starts with your shoulder lifting up. Next, your elbow is going to rotate to the ceiling. Then your wrist is going to also slightly tilt up to the ceiling, followed by your fingers releasing the roll down them. So I'll go ahead and get a little bit closer so you can see that movement. Again, you're gonna go shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Now, something very important to note about this movement is that it is not a stagnant movement. So it does have a nice graceful flow to it that has constant energy flowing through the arm. So you're not going to just hold everything up here in this position, you're going to continue the movement through in a cycle. So instead of just lifting your shoulder up, then your elbow up, and your wrist up, and your fingers, you're going to actually continue the movement by lowering your shoulder, resetting your elbow, resetting your wrist, and resetting your fingers. So it should go shoulder lift, elbow lift, wrist lift, and as your wrist is lifting, your shoulder is going to start to come down again to start over your snake arm. That continuous way is what gives it the snake-like appearance. So let's go ahead and try that all together now, making sure that you add a continuous flow for the movement. Once you have the pieces comfortably set, the next step is to add some smoothness in between each piece so it looks like a very elegant and graceful movement. So let's go ahead and try to smooth that out so it's a continuous flow and doesn't have the breaks in it that we see when we're learning the movement. All right, so let's give that a try. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Let's go ahead and give that arm a break and kind of shake it out there a little bit. So let's go ahead now and do the same thing with the left arm. We're going to start out doing it in the choppy version first. So we're going to do our 4 sections of our piece first, then we will start smoothing it out. So starting with the sections first, we're going to go shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Again, shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. And once you feel like you sort of have these sections together and you feel like you have a good control over this movement, then you can go ahead and start to smooth it out. So let's go ahead and smooth it out, remembering that this is a continuous flow, so we're not getting up to here and stopping. We are making sure to flow it down. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. So typically when you see snake arms, they are alternating in time. So when one shoulder is going up on one side, the opposite shoulder is going down. So typically they do alternate in snake arms, but to get started for learning, we're gonna go ahead and do them the same direction just to get started, because it's a little easier to do them in the same direction than it is to alternate right off the bat. So let's go ahead and try to do them at the same position. So both shoulders are going up, both elbows are going up, both wrists, and both fingers. Again, shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers. Shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers. Then go ahead and let's transition into alternating each side. So like I said, one side is going to start going up, the other side is going to start going down. Let's go ahead and do the right side going up first and the left side going down first. So we're going to start right shoulder up, left shoulder down, right elbow up, left elbow down, right wrist is up, left wrist is down, and then fingers release. Next, we're going to reverse it. So now the right side's going to go down, the left side's going to go up. So here we go, right shoulder down, left shoulder up, right elbow down, left elbow up, right wrist is down, left wrist is up, and then fingers release. All right, let's go ahead and try that a little bit faster now, starting with the right leading up and the left is following. So everything is alternating and creating an opposite motion to each other. You should be feeling a little bit of a strain or pain in your arms because this is definitely a muscle workout. And let's go ahead and give our arms a break. Whew. Now let's go ahead and move on to hip drops. In the very first lesson, we did hip lifts, which look like this. Lift and lift. In this lesson, we're doing hip drops. So it's going to, of course, drop down to the floor as opposed to lifting up. So I'll show you an example here on the right hip. If I am to lift it up, you can see that it does create a crease here and it contracts upwards. If I'm doing a hip drop, you can see it extends my side and my hip is lowered down from the neutral position. So how do we do a hip drop? What we're going to be doing is using our hips and our obliques here to push our hips down towards the floor. Remember, when you are doing the hip drops and lifts, you're keeping your pelvis in between two panes of invisible glass. So we're not tilting or rotating anything to the side. We're keeping it all evenly placed in between our position. So we are in our belly dance posture, and we're going to use our right hip now and our obliques and our lower back right side muscles to push and stretch that hip down towards the floor. Make sure you're letting your knee bend. So we never want to have locked or straightened knees, because if they're locked, we can't move our hips down to the floor. So our knees are slightly bent, and when the hip gets pushed down towards the floor, the knee is released even further. So let's go ahead and give that a try. We're going to drop, back to neutral, drop, back to neutral, drop, and push, release, push, release. Let's go ahead and try that with the other side as well. Now we're going to push the left side down, releasing the knee to bend a little further. Okay, back to neutral, and push, down, and release. Push and release, push and release. Down, back to neutral, down, back to neutral. Now let's go ahead and try to do an alternating hip drop now. So that means we're going to do a right hip drop, then bring it back to neutral, then do a left hip drop, then bring it back to neutral. So we're alternating the movement on either side of our hips. All right, here we go. Right drop, neutral, left drop, neutral. Right, left, right, left. You should be feeling a stretch in your thighs when you do this movement, as well as a stretch on the side of your body as well. Just feeling a full stretch there and a push of your hips. If you're not feeling a stretch, then you're probably not going as far as you can with this movement. All right, last movement for this lesson is a forward and back chest slide, horizontal chest slide. In the last lesson, number 2, we did a sideways chest slide, and now we're going to be taking that movement front and back. So this is a forward horizontal chest slide as opposed to a sideways horizontal chest slide. So to take it forward, just like with the sideways one, we're going to use our upper abs to really push this movement. So your upper abs here are the driver of this movement, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be used to retain your stability in this movement. Make sure that you are in your belly dance posture with your knees slightly bent and your core slightly engaged so that you can control yourself by isolating this movement. So we want to make sure that the chest slide is isolated just to your chest so that you don't have anything else coming along with the movement. So we don't want to see the whole body tilting, and we don't want to see our hips alternating with our chest, which is very common. So if you see it, no worries, just keep an eye out for that. The key here in belly dance is isolation. So let's go ahead and push our chest forward, making sure to stay stable in our hips. Then back to neutral. Push forward horizontally, back to neutral. Forward, back, forward, back. So let's go ahead and do the same movement, but this time we're going to take it a little bit backwards. So instead of stopping at neutral here, we're going to go a little back and then to neutral. So a little back, neutral, back, neutral, back, neutral. It's important that for this movement that you're not bending your back or your butt a lot, because then you get sort of this teetering, totting, like my little teapot kind of movement, and we don't want that. We want to be stabilized, just the chest moving parallel to the ground. So you want your chest to be going parallel, not tilting in any sort of way. So let's combine our forward and our back now. So it's a big horizontal chest slide. We're going to go forward, all the way to back, then forward and all the way to back, forward to back, and again and again. You should feel like you are very sturdy down in your thighs here. This is your power center. This is what keeps you very stable, and you should be feeling like your upper abs and the upper middle part of your back are doing the driving of this motion. Okay, so now let's go ahead and combine all those movements. We're gonna just go ahead and practice them all together now in row to music, so it's a little bit of a belly dance drill. Starting with snake arms. Down to hip drops. Forward. Snake arms. Hip. Chest. Now a little faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go ahead and do that again, and we're going to go a little faster this time. All right, we're going to start with arms. So it's going to arms, hips, then chest. Ready? Here we go. And That is it for How to Belly Dance for Beginners lesson number 3. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more lessons, please go ahead and like and subscribe so that I know that you want more videos like this. And as always, if you have any questions about the movements, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I try my best to make sure to reply to any questions that you may have. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!